Quick question. When you picture an ancient human, what do you see? Probably some grim, hairy guy in a loincloth, sprinting away from a saber-toothed tiger while clutching a half-eaten root and contemplating his own mortality. Yeah, about that. We've been kind of lied to. Because here's a fact that's going to ruin your Monday morning. The average hunter-gatherer worked about 15 to 20 hours a week. That's it. The rest of the time, they were playing, hanging out, telling stories, inventing the world's first drinking games. Meanwhile, you and I are out here grinding 50 hours a week so we can afford a streaming subscription we use to watch other people have fun. Make it make sense. So today, let's talk about what humans actually did for thousands of years before TikTok hijacked our dopamine receptors. Welcome to the original good times. Let's start with the obvious one, gaming. And no, I don't mean Call of Duty. I mean the OG, dice and board games. Humans have been rolling cubes and arguing about the rules for at least 5,000 years. Meet the royal game of Ur. Discovered in modern-day Iraq, this thing was the Mario Kart of ancient Mesopotamia. Read the tablet, Kevin. I'm not explaining it again. And here's the kicker. We've found Game of Ur boards scratched into the walls of palaces, marketplaces, even guard posts. Yes, ancient security guards were skipping work to play board games. Some things never change. But it wasn't just Mesopotamia. The Egyptians had Senet, a game so beloved they buried it with pharaohs so they could keep playing in the afterlife. Imagine being so addicted to a game you literally take it to the grave. That's not a hobby, that's a condition. Meanwhile, in ancient India, people were inventing the ancestor of chess. In China, they were playing Go. Everywhere humans gathered, somebody pulled out a board, somebody else flipped it over, and a friendship was tested forever. The takeaway? Humans didn't invent games because we had nothing to do. We invented games because our brains are wired to compete, strategize, and absolutely demolish our friends. The dopamine hit from rolling a perfect dice combo? That's older than the wheel. Okay, so we had gaming covered. But what about when ancient humans wanted to get physical? Because believe me, they did. You know how today we have UFC, the Olympics, and that one guy at the gym who won't stop telling you about his deadlift? Yeah, that's been a thing for a while. Wrestling is one of the oldest documented sports on Earth. There are cave paintings in France showing two figures grappling that date back roughly 17,000 years. 17,000. Before agriculture, before written language, before pants. Humans were already putting each other in headlocks for entertainment. The Sumerians had wrestling tournaments. The Greeks had the Olympics. The Mongolians made it their national pastime. Ancient Egypt had a fresco at Beni Hassan showing over 400 different wrestling moves, which is approximately 390 more than I know exist. But it wasn't just wrestling. The Tarahumara people of Mexico, who still exist today, are famous for endurance running. We're talking races that last days, hundreds of kilometers, through canyons, in sandals. For fun, while the rest of us are out here complaining about a 15-minute walk to the corner store. And then there were the truly unhinged ones. The Mesoamerican ball game, played by the Mayans and Aztecs, involved hitting a heavy rubber ball with your hips through a stone hoop mounted on a wall. Sometimes the losing team was sacrificed. Sometimes the winning team was sacrificed, depending on the era. Either way, the stakes? Astronomical. Makes losing your fantasy football league feel pretty manageable, doesn't it? The point is, ancient humans didn't just exercise. They turned their bodies into entertainment. They craved adrenaline. They wanted to feel alive. And not in a, I just did a Peloton class way. In a, we might literally die tonight, let's go way. Alright, so you've spent the afternoon getting body slammed by your cousin Greg, and you lost 3 rounds of Senet to your wife. The sun goes down. The fire crackles. Now what? This, my friends, is where the real magic happened. The campfire, the first television, the first movie theater, the first podcast, audiobook, concert, and group therapy session, all rolled into one flickering orange glow. Anthropologists who studied the Juhoansi people of the Kalahari found something fascinating. Their daytime conversations were almost always about practical stuff. Food, work, who owes who an antelope. But at night, around the fire, 80% of conversations turned into stories, myths, legends. That one time Uncle Bopa got chased by a leopard and tried to fight it with a stick. This is how culture was transmitted for tens of thousands of years. Not through schools, not through books, through somebody charismatic with a good voice and a captive audience, the original influencers. Except their content actually meant something, and they didn't try to sell you a meal kit at the end. And it wasn't just storytelling. Humans have been making music for at least 40,000 years. We know this because archaeologists found flutes carved from vulture wing bones and mammoth ivory in caves in Germany. Vulture, wing, bones. Some prehistoric musician looked at a dead bird and went, "You know what? I bet I could make a sick melody with that." And he was right. Those flutes still play actual musical scales today. Think about that for a second. Before we had farms, before we had cities, before we had basic dental hygiene, we had music. Because making sound that makes other humans feel something, that's not a luxury. That's apparently fundamental to who we are. Now, we need to talk about something a little spicier. Because if you think your local music festival invented partying, buckle up. Ancient humans absolutely partied. Hard. They didn't have wine bars or rooftop lounges, but they had something far older. Fermented fruit. And the human brain has been chasing that gentle buzz for a long time. The earliest evidence of intentional alcohol production goes back about 9,000 years, to a village in China where people were fermenting rice, honey, and fruit into what was essentially the world's first cocktail. The Sumerians were so into beer they wrote a hymn to the goddess of brewing, which doubled as the recipe. Yes, the world's oldest known song is basically a beer commercial. Across cultures, festivals were the main event of the year. The harvest, the solstice, the full moon. Communities would gather, feast, drink, dance, and stay up until sunrise. Ancient Greek festivals could last for weeks. The Egyptians threw an annual festival called the Festival of Drunkenness, which is exactly what it sounds like, and which I propose we bring back immediately. And beyond fermented drinks, many cultures used naturally occurring plants in spiritual ceremonies, guided by elders, wrapped in ritual, taken seriously as a path to insight rather than just a way to get weird on a Tuesday. The point wasn't escape, it was connection, to each other, to something bigger, a reminder that being human is strange, brief, and worth celebrating loudly. Try getting that vibe from doom scrolling at 1 a.m. So let's bring this home. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night. Ancient humans worked less, played more, told better stories, made music with literal bones, raced through canyons for fun, and partied harder than your average college freshman, and they did it all without a single notification. We have everything they didn't. Lights, plumbing, refrigerators, antibiotics, streaming services with 17,000 titles. And somehow, a huge percentage of us report feeling lonelier, more anxious, and more bored than ever. What happened? Here's my theory. We didn't lose fun. We outsourced it. We traded active play for passive consumption. Instead of telling stories, we watch them. Instead of making music, we stream it. Instead of wrestling our friends, we watch strangers do it on a screen. Instead of dancing around a fire, we double-tap a video of someone else dancing. And look, none of that is evil. I love a good movie. I'm literally making a video right now. But somewhere along the way, fun stopped being something we do and started being something we consume. And the difference matters. Because play, real, messy, embodied, social play, isn't just entertainment. It's how humans bond. It's how we learn. It's how we figure out who we are. Our ancestors knew this. They didn't play because they were bored. They played because play is what humans are for. So maybe the homework after watching this video is small. Roll some dice with a friend. Tell a story at dinner. Sing badly in your kitchen. Race someone to the end of the street. Throw a party that doesn't end at 10 p.m. Be a little more like the ancients. They figured it out 40,000 years ago. We've just got to remember